Hey guys, what's going on? Jeff here from Films at Home, and today I've got a really interesting video for you because we're going to take a look at Dr. Strangelove out of the new Columbia Classics 4K set and see how that compares to the Criterion Collection 4K transfer on Blu-ray. It's going to be a pretty serious head-to-head, so stay tuned for this one. So like I said, I'm going through the Columbia Classics 4K box set. If you haven't watched the unboxing video yet, go back on my channel and check that out. It's a new release box set with 6 different Sony Columbia Classics, and it includes Gandhi, Dr. Strangelove, Lawrence of Arabia, which I just covered in a review, Jerry Maguire, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, and A League of Their Own. Now, interestingly enough, the only one out there that I have a solid comparison point to that will rival the quality of this set is Dr. Strangelove, because we have that Criterion Blu-ray. You all know Criterion Collection. They do such a good job with their transfers. They're one of the best out there, really highly regarded, and so it'll be really interesting to see how these two stack up against each other in terms of the visuals, the audio, and the packaging and special features, because you can only get Dr. Strangelove out of this box set. So some of you may opt for the standalone Criterion release instead of the 4K if it holds its own in this head-to-head battle. If you like this sort of stuff with Blu-ray and 4K, movie collecting, home theater, please subscribe to the channel. I'd really appreciate that. Like the video and let me know what you guys thought in the comments. You pick your winner. I'd love to hear your thoughts once you see all these screenshots and comparisons. With that being said, let's jump right into the visuals here. So as far as I can tell visually, the Criterion was scanned on a restored 4K digital transfer. Okay, so I'm assuming, because I have not read anywhere else differently, that this is the same transfer, but Sony is putting it onto a 4K disc with Dolby Vision HDR. So that's going to be your big differentiator. 4K resolution and HDR versus 1080p Blu-ray, no HDR. Now, since they're both the same resolution, the same scan, I did some comparison points here, and we're going to go through a few screenshots. Now, for the most part, I have to say that these look extremely similar. And I do think that if you put these side to side in front of somebody and you made them choose which was which, they're gonna have a very hard time. So what that means is that the Criterion Blu-ray, first of all, is excellent, as we expected. And the Sony Columbia 4K Blu-ray is also excellent and on par with the Criterion, but there's really minimal difference between the two. You can tell the HDR does define that a little bit better. The darks and the blacks are a little bit more well balanced, and the whites, it's a black and white movie, so it's really nice to have HDR because it does balance the black and white colors better. And it looks better in the Blu-ray, I would say that. There's also some close-ups of people where I think the color saturation is better on the 4K than on the Blu-ray. But overall, in terms of detail, if you do look at this screenshot here, which is taken out in front of the base, and focus in on the text on the sign out behind the Jeep, you can really start to see just a tiny bit of difference. And you've really got to look for it. If you flip back and forth between these quickly, you may not see it. But the 4K release is slightly more detailed with sharp edges like letters and wording and faces and objects like the Jeep. If we're looking at big landscapes though, looking at planes in the sky, looking at like a shot here of the Pentagon, it's really hard to tell any difference between the detail. And I guess that's props for the Criterion Blu-ray. They obviously did an excellent job, and I remember reviewing this. I was writing reviews for a website when this one came out, and I loved it. I thought it was absolutely incredible. And the new 4K here is also incredible, but right now you can't get it as a standalone. So my judgment on the visuals is that they are 99.9% the same. You're getting the same visual picture here on both of these. So if you want a standalone, you can go pick up that Criterion. You're going to get great visuals. If you don't mind picking up the box set because you want other 4K titles, you're also getting great visuals with the 4K. But I would not say that there is definitively a difference between the two, minus a few scenes here and there where the HDR helps with the black levels. So I guess it's a tiny bit better, but really you've got to be looking for that. And if you weren't looking for it, if you could probably trick me if you put these side by side and asked me which was which. I may not know, and you may like one better than the other. Maybe the HDR color grading, you don't like it as much as the Blu-ray. So it's going to come down to personal opinion, but they are 99.9% the same when it comes to just standard resolution and color grading here and visuals. very, very similar. Now on the audio, and yes, I did do a wardrobe change because I actually shot this over a couple of days, so that's why you're seeing that. I took my time doing this review. But on the audio, both the Sony Columbia Classics and the Criterion have a mono 1.0 DTS HD master audio track, as well as a 5.1 DTS HD master audio surround track. And so in both cases, I cannot tell any difference between the two. My assumption is that they're using the exact same mix that Sony probably worked with the Criterion Collection on and worked with their team to deliver that for the original release on Criterion. And so you are getting no difference on audio. Both releases are giving you the option to have a mono track, which is just one speaker. That's how the film would be in its purest form. That's how the film was intended to be played because it's an older movie. But you do have a 5.1 track, and in both cases, there isn't a ton of crazy like additional surround sound or anything. It adds a little bit. If you have a surround sound system, you may enjoy that. But personally, I like to stick to the mono track. That's sort of the way it was supposed to be played, and it is a very good track. But there isn't much to talk about on audio. You're not getting any new Atmos or anything on the new disc. The old disc and the new disc have exactly the same audio tracks, and so there is no noticeable upgrade there. Where the picture is like 99.9% the same, the audio is 100% the same. So not a whole lot to talk about, but they are both very good mixes, and that mono track personally is my favorite, and it's very well done. Now if we're gonna dive into packaging, first off, right off the bat, I like the Criterion packaging better because I'm a Criterion Collection guy. Love the slipcase, love the artwork on the front, great information on the back. And you get a nice slipcover here, but the slipcover, this is an older style. They used that on the DVD. This artwork is pretty nice, and the back has a cool quote on it, but Criterion's giving you much more. Now opening it up, of course, you're gonna have 4K and a Blu-ray disc on the Sony release. So that's obviously different from the Criterion. And on the Criterion release, you have just a book, basically a paper book with the Blu-ray, and that is it, and that slides right back into the case. Also included with the packaging for the Criterion is this top secret sort of booklet here, and what this comes with is Strangelove like magazine, but what it really is it's some essays and writings on the booklet. It's kind of a cool, like, have you ever seen a commie drink a cold glass of water? Like, it has some cool stuff. It has some nice articles and essays about the film, and then it also includes this kind of cool top secret dossier. So I mean, it has some really nice extras that aren't included here on the 4K disc, and so that's props to Criterion on that one. Overall, they have a little bit better of a package when it comes to the extras that are included with packaging. But now as we talk about special features and go head to head, here's where the 4K disc starts to pull ahead because it has a ton of special features on the 4K disc. Just on the 4K disc alone, there is a feature called Stanley Kubrick Considers the Bomb, an interview with Joe Dunton, Richard Daniels, David George, Rodney Hill, Joe Dunton, Kelvin Pike, and Mick Broderick. Our Stanley Kubrick audio interview, Today Show clips from the Today Show with Peter Sellers and George Scott, the exhibitor trailer, and the theatrical trailer, all in 4K, as well as numerous Blu-ray special features. Now, if I cross-reference the two, you are still getting most of this on the Criterion. So you get the excerpts from the audio interviews, you get most of the interviews, you get Mick Broderick, Rodney Hill, Richard Daniels, Joe Dunton, Kelvin Pike, David George, you get all those. You get the interviews with Sellers and George Scott, you get a 1980 interview from the Today Show, trailers, plus an essay. So you're really basically getting all of the same stuff. The only thing I don't see is the Stanley Kubrick Considers the Bomb. That's a new 4K special feature on this disc that you're not getting on the Criterion. Otherwise, they are exactly the same again. So overall, what do I think about these two head to head? I mean, I think first of all, props to Sony, because it's not easy. I've had Pan's Labyrinth came out on 4K, and I hated it because it wasn't as good as the Criterion. The Criterion looked better. In this case, Sony has at least held their own and has taken a slight 0.1% edge in visual quality and included one, it looks like, extra special feature. So on that front, they've held their own and they've put out a good release. But if you don't want to spend $110 for this box set and you just want to get Doctor Strangelove in an excellent HD physical media release, this Criterion release is as good as it gets. It's the same 4K transfer, it's just on a 1080p Blu-ray, so it's downscaled, but still, detail's great, color is great, you're getting all the special features, and you do get some kind of a premium package compared to just this. Now, the box set this comes in is premium, but this is a premium packaging by itself. This, not so much, pretty standard. So ultimately, it's really going to come down to what you want to do. If you buy the box set, you're getting a great release of Doctor Strangelove. I would say the best it's ever looked. It is, like I said, a minuscule amount better, in my opinion, than the Criterion. If you don't want to spend the money though, this Criterion disc is excellent. I can't recommend it enough, and it's a great addition to your collection. So please, do not feel like if you have the Criterion already that you need to go buy this box set simply for Doctor Strangelove, because you really are not going to see a massive upgrade, and I'd hate for somebody to spend $100. It is not worth $100. If Doctor Strangelove is the only one you want to see upgraded, I would say hold back, maybe wait to see if there's individual releases, but your Criterion Blu-ray is excellent and top-notch and is a 9.9 out of 10, whereas the Sony one is a 10 out of 10. They are almost identical. So thank you for watching this, guys. Hopefully that gives you some good insight into Doctor Strangelove. Like I said, you can't go wrong with either one. So honestly, as fans and as collectors, we should be happy. The new one's great, the old one's great. You can't go wrong. If you don't own it yet, go get the 4K. If you own the Criterion, maybe sit on it and save your money. But if you do buy the box set, you won't be disappointed. You will be disappointed if you expect a massive leap over the Criterion though. So I will leave a link again to the Columbia Classics box set down in the description, but I will also leave a link to the Criterion Collection Blu-ray if you're interested in that. It's a standalone release, and with 50% off sales, you can get that for $20 flat, and I would highly recommend that if that's a better option for you. So I'll leave links to both of those down in the description, as well as links to my Instagram page and other ways you can help support my channel through donations, through signing up for Amazon Prime trials, checking out my Amazon links and making purchases. If you're gonna buy on Amazon, use my links and it helps support me anyway. Those are all great ways to support the channel, so I appreciate all your support overall, all the new subscribers out there. Hopefully if you haven't subscribed, you're gonna do that now and turn your notifications on so you make sure you know about these videos when they go live. And I've got some exciting stuff coming, so stay tuned, make sure your notifications are on. Be safe, be healthy, hope you have a great rest of your week, and I will talk to you guys soon.